Alright guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to my truck. I'm recording this while I'm on my way home from the gym today, but the sound isn't the greatest. It's raining a little bit. I'm going to go over some bumps, but I want to get this out while it's still fresh in my mind because I had a good day at work today. The reason I had a good day at work today is because I had one good incident. Sometimes one good incident is all it takes to make your day worthwhile. Honestly, sometimes one good incident is all it takes to make your week worthwhile. The good incident that I had is one of those uniquely police officer experiences that very few people will ever experience, for lack of a better term. One of the things that I enjoy most about being a police officer is that we are kind of well-rounded people that have adapted to solve a large variety of problems, almost like we are society's like special teams players. You know, there's a lot of people in the world that think police officers should only respond to crime or only respond to violent situations. But the fact of the matter is, what police officers do with the majority of their time is they're filling in gaps, gaps that are left by just other things in our society that can't quite get it done. We're doing the job that there's nobody else to do. When people don't know who else to call, they call the police. And today isn't necessarily one of those things where people call the police, but there was a gap that needed to be filled. Somebody needed to step up and take care of something, and I was that person. And I was very proud to be able to be that person. Sorry, it's hard to drive and talk at the same time. But the call that I'm talking about was actually somebody that had a heart attack in their car out on the freeway. It's a pretty big deal. And I want to kind of go into the whole story about like how it happened today. So at, I don't know, a little bit after 1 o'clock today, I was dispatched on a call about an overdose. Somebody that was passed out in a person's yard. They looked out their window and they had a stranger laying dead in their yard. So they called in, the medics got there first. They woke this guy up. He wasn't overdosed. He was just maybe a little bit intoxicated, and he was very sleepy. You know, he was complaining. He's like, look, I'm just tired and I haven't slept for days and I just wanted a place to lay down. I'm homeless. I've got nowhere else to go. The medics tried to talk him into going to the hospital. He was refusing to go to the hospital. Eventually they talked him into going to the hospital. So away he went. I watched him get on the medic and I watched the medic drive down the road. I cleared myself off of that call because I was no longer needed. When I got out onto one of the main roads in my patrol area, I looked at the computer and I saw a run holding. It's like a medical emergency run. And they pop up on our computers all the time when it's a cardiac related incident, which it's something stupid. Somebody on city council a couple years ago got some federal grant to put AEDs in the back of all of our cruisers because he had somebody that he was acquainted with that lived out in the country that had a heart attack, and sheriff's deputies were on scene like 10 minutes before medical personnel, and the guy ended up dying. So he thought, you know what, cops need to have AEDs, that shock thing. You put the electrodes on somebody and it shocks them, shocks their heart and brings them back to life, that kind of thing. Takes them out of AFib or DFib. I'm not an expert on it. Although I have been trained, I'm not going to say that I'm an expert on an AED. But the thing is, in the city where I work, usually the medics are there before us. And if I'm there before a medic is no more than 2 or 3 minutes away. It's not necessary to broadcast every cardiac incident for police. Police are useless in these kinds of situations. But I saw one pop up and I saw that it was on the freeway. I clicked on it and it was a woman that said she is having a heart attack. She's on the freeway. She pulled off to the side of the road, had her flashers on. She knows it's a heart attack because she had a heart attack 2 years ago. I also looked at when the call came in, and it came in 1 minute before I saw it. The call came in at 1:26. When I looked down at the clock, it was 1:27 p.m. So I was like, okay, this is a very fresh call. She's out on the freeway right now in her car having a heart attack, and I know for a fact the closest medic to her call just took a drug addict to the hospital. So there's medics en route, but they're not as close as they should be. I then knew that I was the closest person in the world that was going to be able to get out there and help her. So I did a U-turn on this major thoroughfare in my city, which some people get pissed off when police pull U-turns and don't follow the law, but flipped a U-turn, kicked on my lights and sirens, headed out to the freeway. Doing my thing, trying to get out the freeway, trying to get people to get out of my way. And she was exactly where she said she was going to be, which is a miracle because people on the freeway never know where they are. But she was exactly where she said she was going to be. Pulled off the side of the road behind her, left my lights on, went running up to the car, opened up the passenger side door because I didn't want my ass to be hanging out on the freeway. A car's driving by at 80 miles an hour. And there she was sitting in her car. She was breathing heavily. She was sweating profusely. She was on the phone with her husband. I opened the door just like I do to everybody else and say, "Hey, you okay?" And she looked at me. She says, "No, I'm pretty sure I'm having a heart attack." So we just had a basic conversation. But right then and there, I kind of got to a point where I was like, okay, my skills as a police officer, this isn't what I'm trained to do. This is not why I am here. This is not why the city hired me. I am not a medical professional. But what can I do? The thing I can do is I can talk to her. I can ask her what her symptoms are, try to keep her spirits up because I know she was very scared. She was sitting in her car all by herself. She actually lives about an hour and a half away from where she was at that point in time. And I was like, you know what? I've got a woman that's on the side of the road. She's afraid she's going to die. She's very scared right now. And I can help her not be scared. And that was my job. So I talked to her for a little bit, talked to her about her symptoms, confirmed why she believes she's having a heart attack, and I kind of walked her through it. I'm like, well, listen, you're still conscious. That's good. You're still breathing. That's good. You're still alert. You're still able to think. Like, we're doing good. The medics are going to be here any moment. They're just behind me. I promise you. And then I looked through her back window and I could see the medics pulling up. At that point, I was like, okay, what can I do to make myself useful? Because I'm a cop. I'm not useful in this situation. So I said, okay, you're going to be going to the hospital. I'll take care of your car. And I said, here's what I'll do. I'm going to drive your car someplace safe and I will get it back to you. What's your husband's phone number? So she gives me her husband's phone number, gives me his name. His name was actually Theodore. And I said, can I call him Theo? And she said, you can call him Ted if you want. Which we had a little joke because I was like, great, because I can pronounce Ted a lot better and I know how to spell it, which I got a little giggle out of her. Wrote her husband's name and phone number down on my notepad. The medics came. I stepped out of the way, gave them all the information I had. Next thing you know, she's on a gurney going to the hospital. I looked at the firefighters, and if you don't know how the response is in situations like this, they send an engine and a medic. That way they have plenty of guys if someone needs carried, and there's other reasons, but basically that's it. I turned to the guys on the engine and I said, hey, is it possible? The other thing was I was the only car clear on the entire zone at the time. There was nobody else available to come help me. I turned to one of the guys on the engine. I said, hey, would it be possible for one of you to drive her car up the road for me? And then I'll drive you back to the station, drive you to the hospital, whatever you need to do. And without hesitation, one of the guys looked at me and said, yeah, I'll take care of it. I handed him the keys. He jumped in the car. He drove it to the truck stop just down the road. I went up there as soon as I knew what hospital she was going to. Went to the truck stop. Went up to the clerk, let him know, hey, this car is going to be parked here for a while. A woman out on the freeway had a heart attack, and her husband is going to come pick up her car. He freaked out for a moment. I had to write a note for their security company not to tow the car, put my name and badge on it, put a little story. This woman had a heart attack. Please don't tow her car. Grabbed the keys, went to the hospital, called her husband on the way to the hospital. He didn't answer the phone, but I left a very long, very clear, very detailed message. Went to the hospital, stood in the doorway as the doctors kind of did their initial assessment and everything. And then one of the doctors actually turned towards me and He says, "Hey, officer, we've got everything we need. If you want to talk to her, feel free." You know, I was doing my job, being useful and being out of the way. Sometimes that's the best thing that you can do. I handed the woman her keys. It turns out, I mean, odds are she was not actually having a heart attack. Could be something else going on, but she's going to be okay. That's the moral of the story there. Gave her the keys back. Well, actually, put them in her purse for her. Had a talk with her about her husband, how I called him, where the vehicle was. I made her repeat everything back to me twice. Made sure that she was good to go, and that was it. And then I left. This kind of thing is it's one of the things that we do. Police officers are doing this thousands of times over on a daily basis across the country, and nobody sees it happen. It's also one of those things that, as a police officer, I see so much garbage and so many garbage human beings and so many situations that I can't affect and I can't help, I can't change. That occasionally you get one of those situations where you know, you were just in the perfect place at the perfect time to really have a positive impact on somebody's day or somebody's life, and you feed off of that energy. And the feedback that I got from her, it brought a lot of joy to my heart. Kind of reminded me of why I do the job, and it reminded me kind of the good things that happen regardless of all of the negative and the bad that we see on a daily basis. I don't know, it was a good day. Something I wanted to share with you guys while it's still fresh in my mind. So that was my day. Talk to you guys later.